topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
You're listening to the ASQ Podcast for a transformational approach to life and leadership, blending soul wisdom with modern insight to create outer impact. I have to say, I just really love the episode, or like the start of our episode.
The intro?
That's beautiful. Yeah, I do.
It's getting people ready for the Bad Bunny concert, I guess. A little reggaeton going on.
Very funny. Oh, let's not get started on that right now. So, episode 3, I'm so excited. Right. I feel like we're getting better at this.
Absolutely. Welcome everybody to another iteration of the Sauce Quest.
That's
live.
Right. Nice. So today we have a guest. Of course, I cheat and I write my stuff down. So I'm going to do the intro very quickly. So today's guest is Michael A. Sancho, president and founder of Excellence in Action. With over 30 years of executive leadership and youth development, Mike knows what it takes to build success from the inside out, always starting with mission and values. He's a graduate of top leadership programs, including the Boys and Girls Clubs Leadership University and the University of Michigan's Ross Business School. And when he's not leading or mentoring, you'll find him traveling the world, paddleboarding, or spending time with those he's helped guide along the way, including us. Please welcome Mike Sancho.
Hey.
Amazing. Hello.
What's up, Mike?
How are you?
Hey, do I call you Dr. Ferreira and Omar, or would that jack up your show? Thanks for having me.
I think a simple Jessie is fine.
No. We pay a lot of money for that thing. You better start using that doctor stuff.
Right. Dr. Jessie.
All right.
Listen, I'm milking it for all that is worth. So yeah, you better. How you doing, Mike?
Yes, thank you so much for being here today.
No, thanks for having me. This is awesome. And Jessie, I agree. I love your intro music.
Isn't it good? He does such a good job. Yeah. This is A1, seriously, A1 IT guy. We were just talking about this earlier today. He does a lot of work.
It's part of the gig. So Mike, thank you again. We've known each other for such a long period of time, and I appreciate you taking the time here, because not only are you one of my mentors, but you're also someone that I have seen firsthand, exemplifying both with the things that we'll talk about today, which is number one, personal development on the first session, but then also leadership, strategy, organizing, operations. So again, thank you for being here.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys and what you're doing, and I look forward to helping out any way I can and being part of this empowerment in this movement.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Love it.
So let's start with you. Let's start on Mike. Let's start from your point of view about how you developed your person, your individual ideas about life, about leadership. Where did it all start for you?
Oh, wow, that's a deep question. I think it started really as a young kid, around age 12, going on 13, when I met my lifelong father figure and mentor, Bob Davis. The youngest of 5 brothers. Make a long story short, the 3 youngest brothers, after our parents divorced, and I was around 3-4 years old, got shipped to live with our grandparents, and we were physically, mentally, and verbally and emotionally abused every day of our lives. But when I met Bob at his tennis academy, that's when it really started to develop for me, and how I grew and became the person I am, because he helped me understand who I was. He never allowed me to run away from who I was as a person. And he, like I said, he was my father figure, and he provided those life lessons. And I got to watch firsthand how he treated his daughters and how his family functioned. And that was the pot that molded me, right? It was the beginning stages of how I became a person. And then as I got older and in my early 20s, really understanding what he did for me and really understanding who I was at that time and where I wanted to go. And he never allowed me to settle, right? It was always about being the best version of myself. And when he needed to hold me accountable, he held me accountable. When he needed to back off, he backed off. But I think that's where it all began.
Is there a specific lesson that you can share with us? I'm just very curious. I've kind of heard this story already in the past, but are there lessons that you learned that helped to bring this out of you and discovering who you are? Does that make sense, the question?
Yeah. Okay. So at that time, right, when people talk about low self-esteem, at that time I had no self-esteem. And I'll never forget this lesson. He gave me a tape recorder, old-fashioned tape recorder with a microphone and a cord, right?
What are those?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And
I'm just kidding.
I was so abused that I stuttered and I mumbled. And I was very incoherent. I mean, he said, Michael, you don't even enunciate your words, let alone speak clearly. Speak into this microphone every time you have a conversation with me, and then we're going to play it back and I'm going to help you. And that was a beginning stage thing. It helped me become comfortable with myself and believing in that I was a human being and I was worth something.
Yeah.
And I'll share a quick story with you. Years later, I mean, I was in my late 30s, and at the time I was still living in New Jersey, and Bob at that time was living in Florida, had moved to Florida, and he was up in the Jersey area. We got together for lunch, and I was like, hey, besides visiting your daughters, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going out to Western Pennsylvania to do a local cable TV show. And I said, for what? And he's like, never lose an opportunity to tell your story. Everyone has a story to tell. Share your story with others because it will help someone else in their darkest moments. And I think that's really what it was, right? Those type of lessons where he said, hey, you stutter, you mumble, you don't enunciate. Let's work on that. And let's bring out the person you are. And that helped me become comfortable in my skin.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think that that was a big part of your, I mean, I don't know where you were in your 20s, but do you think that was a huge part of your, we're going to get into this in the second part, but for you, a huge part of your own personal development? Like, what else were you working on at the same time? You're listening to your recorder, he's coaching you, mentoring you. What else were you doing at the time to sort of develop and get to know yourself and what you actually have to bring to the table?
I think just finding out where I wanted to be in life and what type of person I wanted to be, right? I could have followed in one of my brother's footsteps, who I say he's still to this day very angry. I could have followed in my other brother's footsteps. To this day, he's kind of like he's a rolling stone. Wherever he lays his hat, he calls home, right? Yeah. Or be my own self and really trying to find out who I was. And during that time, I really found my inner self, which was, I need to help others so others don't go through what I went through. And if they're going through it, they have someone who will listen, someone who will be there, someone who will help guide them like Bob guided me. So that was a time period, Dr. Ferreira, to your point, right, of in my 20s, this is who I'm meant to be. I've been placed here to help others. And once I accepted that, I mean, the rest is, it just flowed naturally for me.
Yeah. So question for you. Can you tell me, I know this story personally, but can you tell us the story about that time that Bob told you not to go to the club, but then you wanted to go to the club, and then your friend got into a little bit of trouble, but could you tell us about that? Because the reason why I say that is because I want to highlight the importance of having someone, a mentor, in the way that we guide for our own guidance.
Yeah. So my friends and I, we were going to go hang out, and I had a tennis tournament, and I was a pretty good tennis player, and I had some opportunities, and part of when you're playing a tennis tournament or you're getting ready for a tennis tournament, you don't go hang out. You've got to sacrifice. Yeah. And I really wanted to hang out with my friends, and I had been avoiding them. I've been doing this tennis thing, and I felt bad. These were guys I grew up with. And Bob was like, no, you have a decision to make. He didn't force me. He made it very clear. I can go hang out to the club, go to the nightclub, or I can get the rest and get ready to play. And he just made the options available to me. He said, you only have one of two options. Go hang out, rest. And I really thought about it. And because, I really wanted this tennis thing to work out and I wanted to make him happy, I didn't go. And consequently, my friend Alex got stabbed. He got into it. He was dancing with some other guy's girlfriend. They got into it and Alex got stabbed. And had I been there, my friends, we were the type of things, if you fought one of us, you fought all of us. Mm-hmm. And, I look at that moment like that was like a real big life lesson for me. Like when you make right decisions and right choices, you can have a positive outcome or you can have a negative outcome. And had I been there, I don't know what would have happened, but I know it wouldn't have ended well.
Yeah.
It's so funny how sometimes situations happen to people, right? In this case, you made a decision not to go out with your friends, regardless of the fact that you really wanted to go, right? And you decided to stay home. This thing happened. You knew you had this like bro motto, you're gonna, if somebody goes down, we're all going down, right? Mentality. Right. Do you feel like those types of things, because a lot of people will say, oh, thank God I wasn't there. And then they just kind of forget about it, right? It's like it's inconsequential. They don't even think about it. Do you think that your awareness in that moment was increased in a way that is like every situation that I experience or go through needs to be evaluated from what can I draw from this experience and take into my next, segment of my life or whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things that Bob always was teaching me was there's consequences for your actions and that you have to own those consequences and own those actions. So if you make that decision, that's on you. You own it, you wear it, you live to it.
Right.
And, I've never stopped remembering that incident, what happened, because when I look at my group of friends, my other friend, Ruben, who was there at the incident, he got arrested that evening. Ruben, throughout his life, is always fighting and always just quick to react. And Alex, I look at the health issues that he's had his whole life since that incident. And it's a reminder every day that you have to think before you act. You have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Mm-hmm. You have to see what your options are, and then really think before you make a decision that could alter the rest of your life. And I look back at it and I said, I was just lucky enough to make the right decision.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I had the privilege of working under you, and I remember when we first met, there was something that you gave me. You told me, here, you got to read this book, which was the leadership tips for Attila the Hutt. So that was one of the books. But then you also remember when I first became a club director, you told me you have to master the blueprint, right? The BGC blueprint. You have to master it. You have to understand it. So tell me, from a leader standpoint, from an individual standpoint, why is it so important for us to educate ourselves in terms of whatever endeavor we are going into, from the standpoint of leadership? And you could talk a little bit the power of that book, the Attila the Hutt, and also about understanding when you are embarking on an endeavor, why is it so important for you to immerse yourself in what it takes to be successful?
Well, I'll start with the last part first, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason you have to keep educating yourself and immerse yourself in something, because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Mm-hmm. Good
right?
Point.
So if you're not a lifelong learner, and if you're not honing in and perfecting your craft and learning as much about your craft as possible and really focused on being the best you can be at whatever you're doing at that moment, I think you're failing yourself. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I learned when I first stepped on the tennis court, right? I mean, tennis teaches us so much about leadership. And that was one of the things, because when you're on a tennis court, it's just you, your opponent, and one ball. And you've got a net, you're separated, like you're on the other side. So you're by yourself. So you have to learn quick. You have to adapt. You have to make decisions. And the only way, going back to the previous point about, the decision I made, not going to the nightclub or staying home and resting, you have to make decisions. And if you're not educated, and if you're not continuing to educate yourself in your field of work, then chances are you're not going to make sound decisions. Mm-hmm. You can get away with poor decisions, but eventually that will catch up to you.
Right.
So that's the latter part of that, right? Why is it important to continue education? Regarding the book just resonated with me, and there's something in the book that I'll never forget, and the book still sits on my desk. It's two things from the book that really resonated with me. Number one is, regardless of whether you're a natural born leader or we train you to be a very good leader, you have to want to be a leader. Mm. And if you're not willing to be there for the people you lead, then you're not really a leader. And if you don't want the responsibility, you shouldn't lead. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are placed in positions of leadership where they really don't want to be a leader. Mm-hmm. I just want to go to work today, do my work, and go home. Right? I don't want to take the brunt of that decision, whatever it is. So that's one thing from the book. And the second thing from the book, right, to my point, is it talks about when the chieftain of the tribe, Attila the Hun, would call all of his chieftains from around his empire to come back for a meeting. And you got to imagine, back then there was no airplanes, right? So travel was like 6 months to a year to get there. And so chieftains were called to this summit on a regular basis, mm-hmm. right? But the book talks about, who do you leave in your stead when you're gone? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the book really highlights that when you are gone, you do not name an interim chieftain. You don't name somebody that's going to be, while I'm gone, he's in charge or she's in charge. Mm-hmm. No, if the person is qualified to be in charge, you leave him in charge. Mm-hmm. And that person, you elevate that person to a chieftain, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And that resonated with me because, and Omar, you remember this, right? I would always say things should work smoother and better when I'm not around.
Correct. Yep.
Because if I did my job and got you prepared and gave you the resources to do what is necessary, then I have nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. And so those two things really stood out to me and resonated. I mean, I've held them that book was given to me at the age of 13.
I was going to say, who gave you that book? Okay. I was just going to ask that. Who ended up giving you that book? Was it Bob?
It was Bob. Bob. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so I'll give my age here. For the last, 44 years, that book has those two things have stuck in the noggin.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break right now. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the benefits and the importance of taking all these principles but applying it to organizations and culture. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
You're listening to the ASQ Podcast, a transformational approach to life and leadership. Too many of us chase clarity but feel scattered. What if your challenge isn't failure, but the threshold before expansion? Each month, we gather live for a transformational webinar where contraction becomes coherence. Register today and receive your Soul GPS journal. Begin your journey within. Scan the QR code or visit asqempowerment.com.
At ASQ, we need one platform to do it all: funnels, emails, forms, and automations. That's why we run our entire ecosystem on Go High Level. It is the tool that saves us time and builds real connections with our audience. We believe in it, we use it, and we recommend it. Start your free trial through our affiliate link today.
We don't just find podcast guests, we find aligned voices. That's why ASQ uses Podmatch to connect with leaders and creators worldwide. It's how we've built relationships that shape life and culture. If you want meaningful conversations, join through our affiliate link today or scan the QR code. Find your match on Podmatch.
Leaders are burning out. Teams are disengaged. Cultures are fragmenting. ASQ Empowerment transforms leadership and culture from the inside out. Our Coherence Quest bridges ancient wisdom with modern neuroscience, helping organizations align, adapt, and thrive. Start with an organizational snapshot assessment. So, Visit now at asqempowerment.com and schedule your briefing today. ASQ Empowerment. Lead your life. Shape your culture. Begin within.
Welcome back. You're listening to the ASQ Podcast with Dr. Jessie and Omar Ferreira, a transformational approach to life and leadership.
All right. Welcome back. So on the first half of talking to you, Mike, we learned a little bit about your personal story, and I was just thinking about it during the break about how this development came from you, from this one individual, how sometimes our mentors show up for us and we don't really ask for them. They just they're here, you know what I mean? And what can I take away from this individual? And a lot of times it's not a matter of we're looking for it, but they know that you need it. And so they're giving something to you that they know that you need to build you up. And I think that's a beautiful thing when people actually do that. Anyway, I was completely just highlighting.
Well, it's funny you say that, Doc, because that's you, Doc.
Doc, I like that.
You're being so facetious.
No, I'm not. I'm being
Doc.
Doc.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I like it.
So where Bob's Tennis Academy was in the town I grew up in upstate New York, a small town called Platico, about 75 miles north of Manhattan. He was the employer in town for everybody who was a teenager,
right,
that wanted a job.
Yeah.
And so, both my friends that I talked about at the club, Alex and Ruben, worked there. A lot of us worked there, but he sought me out to mentor me. And I just, it was just luck of the draw, I guess. And, and I was the fortunate one.
Right. Well, in the intro, I had said, when I was introducing you, I said that one of the things that you take a lot of pride in is mentorship and development and whatnot. So we just talked about how you had these books, you gave them to Omar. So Bob gave you that book. How did this sort of start to develop with in terms of leadership and how you affected the whole? Because that's what you were alluding to in this book.
Yeah. So the reality of it is that when you talk about leadership, we have to talk about defining what leadership is.
Right.
And I'm writing. It's funny. I just wrote one chapter in the book I'm writing about this, defining leadership. And so I went to Merriam-Webster.com and asked for the definition of leadership, and it gives leading others. It's vague,
right?
But it's not about who defines leadership. It's how you as an individual define leadership. What is your definition of leadership? And for me, leadership is serving others. That's what I define as leadership. Yeah. Now, there's leadership concepts, there's leadership traits, there's leadership skills. But for leadership, you are serving others. So, Omar, when I worked with you, I was serving you. So on the flow chart, I was above you. That didn't mean anything, right? Because I couldn't be successful if you weren't successful. So the books and all the concepts that Bob helped, me develop and taught me, and all the books I've read and all the programs I've gone to, that's what comes out of it for me, is that I'm here to serve the team that I lead. And so I've got to help them be the best version of themselves. And if Omar and the rest of the crew can be the best version of themselves, I'm going to be successful.
Right.
But more importantly, the clients will be even more successful than all of us combined, which is what we want. Yep. And so that was instilled in me. And then, I just looked at Bob and all the people he mentored, and I was like, that's the path I want to go down. I want to be in service to others. And I asked him one time, and I got a scholarship to go to Bolletary Tennis Academy. I'm up and coming, blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, I got involved with Arthur Ashe, who was another one of my mentors. And I asked them both. I was like, what, so much has been given to me. How do I pay this back? And Bob said, the expectation is that you stop and help someone else achieve their dreams, like was given to you. Like we stop to help you achieve your dreams. You stop and help someone else when they need help achieving their dreams, and do it in whatever manner that looks like. It could be give them money, mentor them, coach them, give them sage advice, or just listen. whatever it takes, whatever you're able to give, stop and help others achieve their dream.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I don't mind segueing into the macro, right? You and I worked for an organization that we both loved. We loved the mission. We loved the vision of it all. But one of the things that we both began to see was the fragmentation of that vision and that mission. And a lot of organizations, businesses, they start with a certain mission in mind, with a certain objective in mind. But that mission gets lost and so fragmentations begins to happen. What are your thoughts on making sure that organizations and businesses maintain their North Star without and avoiding fragmentation that primarily is brought up by egos, by individual egos and by individual wants? What would you prescribe for that situation?
So I think we have to separate nonprofit organizations for-profit businesses.
Okay.
They're two distinct entities, right? And why do I say that? Because if I'm a business owner, I own Excellence in Action Consulting Services. I'm looking to make impact revenue-wise. I'm looking to satisfy my lifestyle. I will change my values or my mission if what I'm doing is not attracting clients.
Okay.
And I really need to do that, right? If I want to be a successful small business owner. So I'm not saying that my values are going to go from, I have high moral standards to no moral standards. I just may change what I define my values to be.
Right.
So for a for-profit entity, that's important, right? The owner of the company, the owners of the company get to make that decision. However, for a nonprofit, you don't own the nonprofit. When a nonprofit is established, it is established for the better good. You don't own it. You are the gatekeeper for the next leader. And so whether you're a board member or the CEO, you are the gatekeeper. And if you have values, you don't change the values. Whoever was the originator created those values for a reason. Follow them.
Yep.
And Omar, in our case, fragmentation, that fragment thing started happening because we had a new CEO who did not follow those same values.
Correct.
And had the board really followed those values, they would have hired someone who met those values. And I think that's the key, right? For nonprofit organization and for profit, whatever your values are, hire people who match the values, because I can teach you the skill set.
Yeah.
I can't teach you values.
Right.
You are who you are. Once you're 18 to 22, college and those years, you establish who you're going to be. So if your values are in alignment, we move forward. But I think a lot of companies, for-profit, nonprofit, they make that mistake of not hiring people that match their values. And so that's where the fragmentation comes into play.
Yeah. So then how do, because it's very easily, as humans, we're very easily swayed, right? Because we want status, we want the recognition, we want all these different things. How does an organization maintain that North Star of their values and their mission in a world that is constantly changing? In the world that funding is a problem, where finances are a problem, when income is a problem for a lot of small businesses, how does someone who is the gatekeeper or the generator of this mission and vision maintain that goal start amidst all these changes?
That's a great question. So I for me, with my company, with my clients, I make it very clear, right? So it comes into when I take my definition of leadership, and so there's a 2-point mechanism here, right? So I define leadership as being in service to others. So whether that's the client or a team member, I'm here to serve them. But I also have to let people know how I make decisions. So for my company, Excellence in Action, we have a mission, right? So our mission is to improve lives by helping others achieve the best version of themselves. So when I go to make a decision, I think of mission first. Number 2 is my company, Excellence in Action. We are values driven. We have values. And with our values, it's an acronym, and we look to impress. That's the acronym for our values, which stands for we display our values through our work, which is always we work with integrity. Mm-hmm. We work with morals, high moral value. Mm-hmm. We are professional. Okay. We display ethics. We are selfless, and we have a social impact. Mm-hmm. So now part 2 of that is when I go to make a decision, I'm looking at that's the second criterion, right? The first one is mission. Mm-hmm. The second one is criterion. Second criterion is, does it match my values? Mm-hmm. And the third criterion for me on making a decision or deciding to do something or partnering with someone or taking on a client or helping that client understand something, I look at the third one is what is the best interest of the client we're serving? Mm. Right. So I'm here to serve the client or the team member. Right. So Omar used to see me do it all the time. How is that helping our staff?
Yep.
Mm. Remember, I would ask that question, right? Mm-hmm. Because if we look at it and say, okay, when I make a decision, all 3 criterion have to be in alignment. Mm-hmm. If they're not in alignment, my decision becomes challenging.
Yeah.
Because I have to figure out one of 2 things. Which one of the criterion is broken? And do I need to fix it? Mm-hmm. Or is it worth fixing? Mm. When all 3 are in alignment, the decision is easy. Let's move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it keeps us from drifting, to your point, Omar, right? How do we prevent that? How do you make decisions as a leader? So, Omar, what did we start every staff meeting with? We recited the mission, we recited the vision.
And the values.
And the values, right? Mm-hmm. Every single time. And we kept that at the forefront. Mm-hmm. And when you had your crew that was new, you would bring me in and would always tell them, right? I would always talk about the mission and what was the importance of it. I would talk about the values. And remember, Omar, I would share with them, I want you to make believe your name was on the wall.
Yep.
How would you act?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, ask yourself one simple question. Was my effort worthy of my name being up on the wall? If it is not, you better come in here tomorrow and make sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I have a question, though, as somebody who's going to push back a little bit. It's easy to say what you're saying because this is sort of what you've learned. And you said it earlier, not all leaders. I don't remember how you said it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. That you can teach a skill set, but not everybody wants to be a leader, right? Some people end up being the lead of an organization, but they didn't really ask for it. They just kind of end up there. So how is it that you would help, or what kind of advice could you give somebody that is in that position of, I didn't ask to be here, but it's nice. I'm seen in the neighborhood. I'm a big deal. People respect me. I'm revered now by the community. But their focus isn't what you just talked about, which is mission and vision and values based.
My advice to that person would be very simple. Do you really want this? I mean, when we talk about authentic leadership, we talk about the 3 of us all the time. What is authentic leadership? If you're being true to yourself, then you're like, you know what? This is not for me. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a better person who could sit there, look themselves in the mirror and say, this is not who I am. This is not where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And when you're authentic, you can make that decision. Now, your lot in life may say, I need to stay here until I find where I need to be because I've got a roof over my head. I've got family. I've got responsibilities. Mm-hmm. But it starts with really, me giving that person that advice. Like, is this what you really want to do? Mm-hmm. Is this where you are meant to be? Right. And if not, you've got to deal with that. You've got to come to terms with that. Mm-hmm. I would never tell a person leave. I would never do that. That's not for me to say. Mm-hmm. You just have to address that issue head on.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges? I know that you have vast experience in a nonprofit now, quite a few years now in the for-profit business. What are some of the challenges that you are seeing in this world right now? And what are some of your prescriptions to how to solve those challenges as you see it from the work that you do?
I think the biggest challenge I'm seeing is that, and let me, set up the scene here, right? I really focus on small businesses, right? So I do have clients who are nonprofits, but I also have small businesses. Is that a lot of folks, they're great at what they do, but they don't know how to run a business. So a lot of people take that leap, that incredible desire to say, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to go do this. And they take this leap and they say, I'm good at creating widgets. So let me become the number one widget maker. But they don't know how to run a business. And I that's the biggest challenge I see. And so most of my clients, that's where I've been successful, is coming in to help them. And it's been simple. I mean, I have one client that, they millions of dollars per year, but their culture was not good. But they never hired based on culture. Yeah. They never had questions in the interview process with the culture. So we came in, we fixed their culture. Well, we didn't fix it. We helped them fix their culture. And we taught them about culture. They created their set of values. And now, I'm still with that company, and every person we hire, there are directed questions that go to the values. I mean, one of the questions is, give us your definition of the word ethical, and then give us an example of how you've displayed ethics in previous places of employment. And we don't let them just give us a fluff answer. We was like, no, dig deeper, right? Because now I'm getting to the value-driven piece. Yep. Right. So all those things come hand in hand, but it always comes back to that definition of leadership. And then for me, one of the things that a leader must do is always tell who they're leading how I, as a leader, make decisions. Because if I tell you my process for decision making, you can never question my decision wasn't for the right reasons, right? Omar, I've been your mentor. I've been your friend for a while. Yeah. When you ask me for advice, it's coming from the heart, and you know that. Yep. Right? Why? It's because I've been upfront. This is how I make decisions. This is who I am. I've been honest. I've been upfront. And so when I give you advice, it may hurt, but you know it's coming from my heart. And that's the big challenge that I see a lot of businesses and nonprofits having is they're great at what they do. They may not have been taught or trained to be a leader. They may not have the business skill set. Doesn't mean you can't be successful. Yeah. But we come in there and we help tighten those up.
Absolutely.
Love that. Well, we do have to wrap it up, but this has been really good overview of like where you came from and how you sort of develop your leadership skills and your perspectives on leadership, which I have a lot of respect for. I think it's been good. What about for you?
So Mike, tell us a little bit real fast tell us how do people find you, number one, number two, and briefly tell us about the book, because I want people to know that your book is coming, and tell us a little bit about that. So how to find you and tell us about the book.
Okay, you can find me by going to eiaconsult.com. That's eiaconsult.com. Or you could look for EIA Consulting or Consult on TikTok and Instagram or social media. You can find me there. Every Monday, I put out what is called a Monday morning message. It's a 1 minute or less. Go get them a leadership skill, positivity message. I like to call it Motivational Mondays, right? They're called Power Mondays, right? Get your week started. And then the book is called Tennis and Leadership, a Winning Combination. And so what we didn't talk about was I had this whole tennis background before I became a nonprofit youth development executive. But I tried to play at a high level, and I was a teaching pro and worked for Arthur Ashe and Nick Bollettieri and Bob Davis. And so tennis teaches us so much about leadership. So I'm using tennis to teach leadership concepts and basic leadership traits and understandings that I've learned from the tennis court. So like we talked about earlier, right? One of the things in the book I talk about is, as a leader, you will have this feeling of being on an island by yourself, because you're going to have to make tough decisions and make tough calls. And, Omar, you worked with me when I was CEO, and I was waking up in the middle of the night, my neck throbbing because I didn't know how we were going to make payroll.
Yeah.
And no one else in the organization could understand that feeling but me. And I was on that island by myself. Yeah. I was able to navigate that because when I played tennis for all them years, I was on the other side of the court all by myself. There's no coaching. There's no timeouts. There's no bench. Hey, Omar, go in there and replace Mike. No. So I talk about how tennis teaches us about leadership. And I use that. And that's why it's called Tennis and Leadership, a Winning Combination.
Love it.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking your time and being here. Thank you so much for sharing all your expertise and all the things that you have actually shared personally with me and helped me along the way. So we want to thank you so much for being here. Any final words?
No. Yeah. First of all, thank you both for number one. I've seen you in action now. A couple of, I watch your podcast. I follow you on social media, but we were just hanging out last week. And
happy birthday!
Thank you. And your, the Brewing Leadership Series and all of that. What you're doing is phenomenal, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And I'm so grateful that you guys had me here today, right? And I appreciate everything that you're trying to do, and any way I can help out. You always have my support. And I think the last word of wisdom is, just be authentic, be yourself. Start there. If you start there, you can't go wrong. Now, if you're a mass murderer, you may want to change. I'm just saying.
Let's clarify that part right there.
Let's clarify, right?
Good clarification. That's important.
Good clarification. I don't want to encourage mass murderers.
No, absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you so much. And with that, we'll take a brief commercial break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the ASQ Podcast, a transformational approach to life and leadership. Coming this December, A Soul's Quest, a transformational approach to life and leadership. A book that bridges science, wisdom, and lived experience so you can lead with coherence. Don't miss the launch. Join the waiting list today, scan the QR code, or visit asqempowerment.com.
At ASQ, we believe every creative deserves a safe space to share. That's why we use and proudly recommend Gnostic TV. It's where your content won't be silenced and your vision can flourish. Sign up through our affiliate link and be part of this Freedom Center platform. Create boldly on Gnostic TV.
Every voice deserves clarity. At ASQ, we record all our podcasts and live webinars on Riverside FM. It's the tool that gives us studio quality sound and video anywhere. We trust it and we recommend it. If you're ready to share your message, sign up through our affiliate link below or scan the QR code. Start creating with Riverside today.
Across boardrooms, nonprofits, and communities, too many leaders are quietly burning out. They know what's not working, but not how to turn inertia into momentum. That's where I come in. I help leaders, fathers, and organizations move from quiet crisis into coherence, so cultures can thrive from the inside out. Book me today at asqempowerment.com and bring coherence to your next event.
Welcome back. You're listening to the ASQ Podcast with Dr. Jessie and Omar Ferreira, a transformational approach to life and leadership.
All right.
So we're back.
Good.
Yeah, no, that's excellent.
I mean, Mike he's a good guy, and he's got a lot of, I always feel like he's so much older because there's so many things that I do learn from him.
Yeah.
I listen to him and I think it's good, but go ahead.
No, absolutely. So we're going to start doing this segment at the end of every episode, right? One of the things that I learned from Ken and being a Boy Scout is like after every event, every activity that we did, we just did a recap, So what stood out from you and what was one of the biggest takeaways? So let's start there. What was your biggest takeaway from the conversation with Mike?
So I think for me, the biggest thing is one of the things that I focused on when I was in school is trying to find a definition of leadership, right? And, the conclusion between myself and other classmates and other people that I talked to was that it's a very subjective topic, leadership, right? It's subjective. People define leadership differently across the board. I mean, you can go to the dictionary and you're going to have, your standard, whatever, but leadership at its essence is a very subjective topic, right? And so a couple of things that, stood out for me is that Mike took to this mentorship, right, Bob, and he really was open to in embracing this information and not necessarily kind of like, you know how some people will get offended, oh, he's making fun of the way that I talk and this and that. He embraced it. And there's sort of a disposition that comes with that, being able to take feedback, being able to take things that people say and sort of trying to understand what's being said at the core of it. And that's what I got from the conversation, because I think that sometimes people say things and what is it that they're trying to say, and what can I learn from this interaction or this experience, or what is trying to be taught here for me, right? And that kind of is what I got from the conversation as a whole. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. There is because words have origins, and they have a certain premise behind them, right? So there is an actual definition of the word leadership, right? Which has actually Germanic origins. I'm actually creating on our website, we're going to create a library of definitions for all these different things, but there is an actual wording for that. But the interesting thing that stood out for me from the conversation with Mike is that intersection between individual personal growth and development and unfolding, and the way that you approach life, and the way that you approach not just one aspect of life, which is business and work, but also leadership is how you run your family, how you carry yourself in whatever situations that you're in. So that importance of learning things that you are attracted to, you know, things that are given to you, kind of like coming from that point of view of always being a lifelong learner. Right. To understand that life doesn't stop because you just, you have a degree or you have a certain amount of like, the society tells you this is it. The idea of always learning, always discovering new things, new perspectives, and then taking that information and applying it to practical aspects of life, like how you lead your relationship, how you interact with your family, how you show up at work, how do you show up if you're starting a business. All those things are important because you cannot separate the personal unfoldment from what you do. It's all one in the same. One is just more micro, and the other one is more macro.
Right. I love the part too where he talked about, a lot of times we get into these things where the mindset is positive and you want to do something, you're trying to make an impact, but you don't know how to do it. Right. And having that presence of mind and awareness to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm actually working with a young lady who's in this process right now, and she's really kind of looked to me for guidance, and she's very open and susceptible to she's like a sponge right now. It's interesting. Yeah. And so what that applies to what you just said. So I think that's a really beautiful thing, actually.
And before we let go, I want to just do a shameless plug. We are actually developing, Fred is in the development right now of a leadership, actually an entrepreneurship program, because we don't only just want to focus on the mentality of things, we also want to focus on the practicality and the actionality of free. So we are developing an entrepreneurship program in which you could take this program and understand the components of bringing your ideas and your passions into actual practical and applicable and create something in the here and now.
Yes, I love that, because that course is a foundation for people who want to try to figure out how to maneuver businesses, learning about finances, learning about the different nuances, planning, strategic planning, all of those things.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the ASQ podcast. And remember, live. Oh my God, you haven't remembered the tagline? Wow, what I can't believe it. Yeah, I know.
Go ahead. It's on you.
So lead your life, shape culture, and begin within. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and have a great afternoon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the ASQ podcast. Remember to lead your life, shape your culture, begin within. Visit us at asqempowerment.com and join the movement.